So this is the second neutralisation reaction I'm going to show you today, and this is the apparatus that I need for it. So I am going to use sulfuric acid again, which is a colourless liquid, but this time I'm going to react it with copper carbonate. So you may remember that copper carbonate is a green powder, a really fine, nice green powder. So I'm going to start by putting a little bit of the copper carbonate into the bottom of the test tube. So if you can see it there, it's a nice green powder. Okay, now a carbonate plus an acid will give us a salt plus water plus carbon dioxide. So one way we can prove that this is a carbonate is that we can test the bubbles being produced to prove that the bubbles are carbon dioxide. And how we do that is that we bubble it into lime water. So I'm going to add some lime water to this test tube that we can then pass the bubbles produced in the reaction into. And to do that, I'm going to use the stopper here and then the rubber tube or the delivery tube, passing it into the lime water. If it proves that it's carbon dioxide produced when the lime water turns cloudy. So that's what we're looking for. Our observations for this reaction we'll go through as I go. So we start off, we have a green powder and we have a colourless liquid. When we add the liquid or the acid to the copper carbonate, we will observe fizzing or bubbles. I can hear fizzing, you can maybe see the bubbles. We then pass the bubbles that are being produced into the lime water, and we can see if it turns cloudy, that proves it's carbon dioxide. And hopefully you can see the lime water starting to turn cloudy already. So another observation for this reaction is that the green powder will dissolve or disappear, and the colour of the solution will change because we're going to get copper sulfate produced, so the liquid will turn blue and we have fizzing and bubbles. So those are the three main observations: the powder disappearing or dissolving, the solution going from colourless to blue, and then bubbles or fizzing is our other observation. Now, we can't say carbon dioxide is an observation because all we can see or hear is the fizzing or bubbles. We prove it's carbon dioxide by passing the bubbles into lime water, and the lime water changes from colourless to cloudy. Okay, so here's our word equation for this reaction. So we have got our copper carbonate, which was a green powder, and it was added to sulfuric acid, which was colourless. They reacted together and we got copper sulfate solution, so copper sulfate plus water, which is a blue solution, and then we got carbon dioxide, which we saw fizzing or bubbles. So our observations that we had during this reaction, so we had the powder dissolved or disappeared. Okay, the solution went from being colourless to being blue, and we saw fizzing or bubbles. Those are three observations in this reaction. Now we're looking at our symbol equation then. So the formula for copper carbonate is CuCO3 plus sulfuric acid, which is H2SO4, and again the same formula for copper sulfate that we had in the last equation, plus water plus carbon dioxide. And again, you can have a look at that equation and just check to make sure that it's correctly balanced.